Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering the Braxtons. This is season 1, episode 6. From this website that I was looking at last night. Sorry, I got a little sweat in my eye. It's hot out here. Sorry. From what I was looking at online, it looks like there's going to be 8 episodes that WeTV did order. So we only got a couple episodes left or whatever. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video and also please subscribe, and you can leave your comments below. I won't be before you long. The most interesting part of this episode is at the end, and I have stuff to say, and also my battery power is pretty low. So unfortunately, it's going to be quite fast. So we start off with Miss E and Tony. They catch up. They telling each other stories. Miss E telling about little Kev and the party. Tony says that she has a cold and she's preparing for her show, and she thinks that she has some good jokes. And she said, "What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear." She told it to this waiter, and of course he laughed just to be appeasing to her, whatever. But whatever. And Miss E said, "Stick to singing" in her confessional. "I like when you sing. Don't tell no more jokes." So I don't know about all that, but Tony, no. Let's do the jokes. I don't know why you got to do it. Or just laugh at his jokes, or have something scripted between you and Cedric to say to one another. That's my opinion. And then Miss E, she talks about Trina or Tawanda is getting a dress prepared for her. And she said, and Tony was like, "For what? For a date." And Tony was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were serious about that." Because you're so picky about everything. Da, 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 da. And then, Miss E said, "Well, you're always pushing me to go date somewhere, so I'm ready to go on a date." But as Tony did say, that she's very picky as to what she wants in a man, so no one knows really what to get her or to suggest for a date or whatever. So Tony said that she'll try to find some guy for her. All right, so we're going to dip right on into Tamar. Tamar is being filmed going to Mr. Carlos King's podcast. He has a setup on Mondays as Messy Mondays, and he's filming his live podcast show, and Tamar is the special guest. They're behind scenes, and Tamar was like, "Well, what kind of questions are you going to be asking me?" She said, "Well, I guess everything is pretty much on topic, or should be on. Nothing should be off, right?" Okay, so change of scenery. So I was talking about Tamar and Mr. Carlos King, and with his live podcast. So they're behind the scenes, and she's asking about, "What are y'all going to be asking?" And she said, "Well, I guess everything should be on record." Like, what is it? Anything should be open. And then she was like, "Oh, you a producer, so you're going to be asking some type of questions to kind of bring stuff out of me, blah, 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 blah." All right, so they get out there. Obviously, Mr. Carlos has given approval for anything that he wanted from his live podcast to be showcased. So he asked certain questions because he's asking, we only hear about what's going on with the show. Why is she back? She said that, the only thing that she did approve is to be a friend of the show. I also know that this didn't air, but the reason that she did decide to come back, she said the money, and they got what they wanted. They got to be executive producers and all that good stuff. There's different people in production. And now there's some melanated people, according to what she was saying on the podcast. Of course, she was doing it for Tracy, and she said that she has a lot of boundaries up that she's just not willing to cross. I wish that was the same thing that was on the internet, man. I really wish, but it is, whatever. Whatever boundaries those are, we'll never know. She did talk about, the last time she was on reality TV, she almost lost her life. And that's why she has all these boundaries. So, Mr. Carlos did ask a question about, do you think that there was resent for you being, from the other sisters, for you being the breakout star? And she paused and said, "Oh, you messy." And then she said, "Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with her. You know how hard I am on Tamar these days. I'm not going to disagree." She got her own spinoff and all that. And everybody was, it was, what's the word, catch-22? Everybody tuned in for Tamar and her antics. But then it was this double-edged sword where people didn't like the antics. Like, "Oh, you're getting on my nerves, but I'm still going to watch you to see how much you're going to act up." Y'all can disagree with me if you want to. That's all from that. Next, Tony. Her son Denim is modeling. I think he's the second born. He may be the firstborn, but he's wanting to do modeling. Tony wants to be his manager, but she's only going to do what he's comfortable with. I think Tony wants to make sure that everything's on the up and up. I mean, she knows everything about the business. She understands it because, I mean, she went bankrupt. So I would have, in some type of way or form, have her as an advisor. Denham, whatever you want, whatever else you want, do it that way. Denham says that he wants to make a name. He knows that he's going to be Tony Braxton's son, but he wants to make a name for himself to let the world know that he's Denham. I think he'll have a good strike at this career that he has going on. Miss E, she goes out with her friends, which includes Judge Maybelline, y'all know her. Miss Marla Gibbs, we know her from the Jeffersons in 227. As Florence on the Jeffersons, and what was her name? Mary on 227. Her daughter, I think her name was Angela or Audra. Please excuse me, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I just don't remember your name at this moment. They're out for lunch, and they are talking about Miss Evelyn Dayton and all that good stuff. I think it was a cool conversation. Wanted to see Miss E outside of the element of her children. Like, I'm glad that she does have a life outside, because we don't really get to see her without filming without her children in some capacity, some type of dramatic something, or possibly a fun event too. So it was cool to see her in that light. And the reason I'm not going into detail into it, because it's like, okay, I mean, we've seen Miss Evelyn try to date before and it's not worked at all. So anyways, we move on to the date, and this guy named Shelly, he's an actor. He's been in 2 of Tyler Perry's movies, his first 2. He said, I don't know what character he played because he doesn't look familiar. It looked like everything was going well, and they were both laughing at each other's jokes and all that good stuff, but Miss E does not have any interest in continuing on any type of dating with him. So they didn't exchange numbers or nothing. I was like, well, I thought you were having a good time. At least it looked like it, but Tony said that she's very picky. Maybe she was turned off by something. Maybe Shelly was putting on an act for the cameras, because he was talking about the cameras a lot, which was interesting. So we don't really know if he was being his authentic self. The next part is the only part I really wanted to talk about, with Kevin Jr. Tawanda is pulling up to wherever she's going to be filming at. We find out that Kevin Jr. is having a medical alert right now. I won't say crisis because he didn't go to the hospital. But what happened is that Kevin was missing for a while, and they found him on the ground, and he had a seizure. I think he was out of it or whatever, and they got him to come to, and they know that he had that type of reaction. We find out from Tawanda that Olivia, who is Kevin Jr.'s wife, now did text and say, hey, I was on the phone with Kevin, and then all of a sudden he stopped talking and everything went black, and she believes that he's having a seizure. So Auntie goes in to see Kevin, and they hug and all that stuff. He said, I was on the phone with Olivia, we were talking about the divorce, and things happened. Apparently he has developed seizures since Tracy has passed away, and they're due to stress. And since they were talking about the divorce and he's still wanting to win his family, I think I did miss a part. He did go to grief counseling. Sorry, before this. He was filming grief counseling. I think he was on a break. He didn't come back after the break, and that's when they found out that he had a seizure. He was talking about, it was when his wife served him the papers or whatever. He was blindsided by that. I have question marks throughout this whole storyline for Kevin Jr. because I don't think that we are getting the whole story. And honestly, I don't know if we're even owed that, because it's supposed to be about the sisters, but for some reason, we're getting a lot of Kevin. And I'll have more to say about that in just a few minutes. But he still wanted to win his family back. Anyways, Tawanda was like, well, I know that you're due back in court, but we don't really recommend you catching a flight. So Tawanda calls Miss E and alerts her about Kevin. Kevin is there. And she also says, no, don't get on the flight. See if you can reschedule that court date. She loves him, blah, 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 blah. So Tawanda calls Olivia, I think, and asks, can we just reschedule the date? And she said yes. He said also right then and there, I'm afraid to be alone, Auntie, and hopefully you don't mind, just being around me and all that. And Tawanda said, look, you got about 100 people that you're not going to get no sleep tonight, There's just too many indications that the Braxton sisters are not as close to Tracy's family. There's too many indications. No matter what they want to make things appear, Maybe they're showing up now, cool. But it's almost like, don't want to say strangers, but he don't know how to be a nephew. He don't know how to be family, and he's got to ask different ones. I know he's felt isolated, possibly because his dad or whatever. But if you have to ask your auntie that knows so much about you significantly and has a nickname for you, Scratchy, I just question that. Y'all can say what you want, let me know. But it's like, what? Okay. So he's staying the night. Everything's supposed to be rescheduled, all that good stuff. So the next day, Trina and Miss E, they come to his hotel room and they talk. He tells them Olivia did not reschedule the court date and she finalized the divorce while he wasn't there. She got sole custody of Kevin Jr. and also the house. Obviously, there is some type of anger and vindictiveness that is on this lady. I thought, okay, you were blindsided by all this? I questioned all that, but then I was like, okay, well, if she's doing all of this, like you had no... The reason I'm really questioning, are you really the villain in all this, Kevin? Because you said that you were going to reschedule the court date. And you didn't. And you knew his condition. You were on the phone with him when he was having this medical crisis. And you went on with the divorce. I'm not connected to Kevin at all, but that pisses me off. You are that's manipulative. And you're a liar. And you are a deceiver. And I don't like that. So whatever went on, we know that you were the one that got him arrested because they got an anonymous tip as far as what Tawanda told us, that you were the one. And he got arrested. So we just don't know what happened in the marriage. I don't know. I don't even know what the warrant is for. But what I'm going to say as we close out, I got two things to say, actually. Let me go back to Tamar. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. And Carlos. Tamar said how that they became friends and close is that she told Carlos about Tracy's illness. And he kept that a secret. If you follow his podcast at all, he says, I don't tell my friends secrets. Or anyone, people tell me stuff, I'm not telling it to anyone else. And that's why he's trusted. And I believe that. As much as people want to say that Carlos is messy, I want y'all to prove it. I want y'all to prove it. Now, I thought, and I'm just going to bring this up, I thought how Carlos and Tamar became friends is after she backed up Carlos with this whole, when Candy said that Carlos had, was going to make a movie out of the skate group. She said, I don't know if I believe Candy and all this. I think something else happened, blah, 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 blah. And now that's why she's in the place with Candy over that. And she was trying to be deceptive, saying, I was asked a question and I answered it. If you would have answered it, if you would have kept it there, that would have been okay. But I remember during that time when you were putting this on your IG Live also, you should have left that at work if this was such work or whatever. Then all of a sudden they were tight. So obviously, I guess something else. I don't know. I just know what it looked from the outside. I don't know what was all going on the inside. But Candy was also a relationship that you wanted to protect too. I remember when you were on Nini's YouTube show or IG Live show, and you were going to protect that relationship. But now it just went to hell. And you don't care. But whatever. 2, I don't know why Kevin Jr. is being featured the way that he is on the show. Tawanda has no storyline. We learned she had alopecia during the first episode. That's it. I mean, there's not much you can just say. Look, I have alopecia. I'm bald now. I'm not sick. And basically, she just wanted to clear up rumors. And I wonder if that happens to Tamar. Because remember, she shaved her head too. A while back. This is before Tracy. So I don't know if she had alopecia also. But she never said anything. I don't know if Kevin is being exploited. Because he's a grown man. And he signed up to do and say whatever on this show. I don't like that Tawanda is just sitting here as the responsible one or leader of everything and somewhat guiding storylines. Like, what's going on with you? And no, we're not interested in your relationship. It's not going anywhere. You're comfortable where it's at. There's nothing to invest there. We know nothing. And since you are so good with grief that you just know that Tracy's energy is around you, we don't even know how you feel about grieving. So you don't give nothing to this show. I think Kevin should be paid. He's not a producer, and he should be a producer. I mean, he's responsible over Tracy's image and likeness. And I kind of feel like you're being taken advantage in that way, Kevin. I think in that way. I do still think that you're a grown man and you signed up to do this. I just don't understand why you're so intertwined in the story the way that you are. Since you are over the estate of Tracy, you should have an executive producer credit also, since they are using her image and likeness. That's all I do have. Tell me what you guys think. I know I was kind of all over the place. I kind of wrote things down, but I didn't really write things down, unfortunately. If y'all want to cuss me out, go on and cuss me out, but it's kind of cringe. And then we don't get the full story as to what's going on with Kevin Jr. It's like, well, are we owed that? I mean, he's telling the story, so give it to us all if you're going to do that, you know? But that's all I do have. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video and also subscribe to my channel. Until the next one, peace.